Hey everyone, how you doing today? As mentioned in the daily financial news, we are bringing back our longest and most frequently asked for guest, Anna Kelly. How you doing, Anna?
I'm doing great today. Good to be here with you, Michael.
Thank you for giving us time every Wednesday. We all appreciate it, one rental at a time. I want to talk about something you did last week. Last week, you had the opportunity to create an experience for some high school seniors, right? They got some time to enjoy your beach houses, but you also had some time to figure out what they understand about money, finances, passive income, what the school taught them, what their parents taught them. And I thought we should just have that honest experience because I think there's an opportunity for all of us to do better. What do you have to say? What'd you see?
Yeah, for sure. I will say that it just kind of reinformed and reinforced everything we've kind of talked about, that kids are not taught anything about financial education for the most part. If they choose to take accounting, then they'll learn some accounting. There is one class that's kind of like a personal finance class, but it's an elective also. And so kids are like, I'm not taking that,
Ah,
right?
wait a
Because
minute.
they think I don't want to deal with money. I have time to learn that, right?
Right.
So it's not a required class in any school that I know of. And the kids, when I ask them, have you taken a budgeting class, or have your parents taught you about, how to handle your finances when you go off to college, or how you're going to pay for your loans? None of them their parents had. They're like, no, we don't
Wow.
know. We wish there was a class on that, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'm developing something. I'm working on something. And I said, at least to get started, I know like Dave Ramsey has a class, an online class of some sort with just some basic money management.
Hmm.
And we talked, which we'll get into today, a little bit about one rental at a time and really learning to create some passive income.
Hmm.
But it's interesting because when I was first talking to a few of them, because they don't understand what active income is, they don't really understand what passive income is. They
Yeah.
don't understand what budgeting and basic money management is. So it's difficult to start getting into too deep of a conversation about how you can create financial independence when they don't really understand even the basics of what does that mean, right?
Yeah. That's kind of what I feared, frankly. And in fairness, what I see sometimes in my students as well, right? So I have a course called How to Get Started One Rental at a Time. It was built on my track record, and it's almost 2,000 students now, so it's really helping people. But about 6 or 9 months ago, I realized that I was kind of starting on second base, right? Because if you're doing How to Get Started One Rental at a Time, you probably have some money for that first down payment, right? You're looking how to deploy that. And in reality, there are so many other people still stuck at home plate. Sorry to use the baseball analogy. I don't like, yeah, whatever. You understand.
Uh-huh.
And nobody, the school system and my parents didn't teach us about money. And you're right. It starts with, we don't even talk about income, let alone taxes, let alone fixed expenses like rent and mortgage and car and insurance and food and entertainment and clothes. I mean, da, 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 da. And then, oh, by the way, what I call the freedom dollars, right? Which most accountants call disposable income. We are failing parents. We're failing our kids. We were
Yeah.
failed. So, hey, admit it. We didn't get taught anything either, but it's time we step up and try to be better. So that's why I had to create that course, Get Your Money Right. Because if you don't have the money to start one rental at a time, it's tough to get there because you don't get out of your own way.
Right. I didn't even know, and we meet every week. I didn't know that you had a course called Get Your Money Right.
Yeah,
So tell me a little bit about that.
yeah. So basically, it is a family budgeting course. It's starts with the basics, right? I talk about turning prices into time. That's where it starts because I think kids get introduced to price tags, right? I talk about a PS2 costing 500 or $1,000 or whatever it is. And I'm like, that's the wrong number. You shouldn't talk about it being $1,000. You should look at your family budget, understand what's discretionary, and convert it to time. I gave 3 examples. Like for one family, it may take them, till Thursday to pay for it, right? Because they have enough disposable income. And for another family, it takes like 400 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what that means? That's 10 weeks. Your parents got to work 10 weeks to pay for that video game. Are you kidding
Yes.
me? Who the heck wants to work 10 weeks for a video game? Right. So that's where it starts, price to time. Then it really gets detailed, right? Because I figure that's a nice, easy place. It's meaningful. It kind of slaps you in the face, like wake up. And then it gets down to, okay, folks, let's do a family budget. What is it? What where you at? And oh, by the way, let's track it. I built an Excel spreadsheet that changes colors and all this based on over unders. And finally, I produced a financial freedoms or a financial health score, and I have 5 different levels. So it's simple on purpose, but it's meant to wake you up, and it's meant to be
Yeah.
a feeder for how to get started. And it's nobody wants to take, it's like where one course has 2,000 students, the other is like 100. And it's because budgeting's not sexy, and nobody
Yeah.
wants to think about it. But I'm
Yeah.
trying.
It's so important. I'm so glad you're doing that, Michael. I'm so glad to hear you have that piece, because that is the piece, even with my coaching students who have, they're usually in their 30s to 50s. Like they've been doing this, they've been doing life for a while, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I want a boat, so I'm going to go buy a boat.
Oh,
And it's
yes.
like, okay, well, how are you paying for it? Well, I can take part of the home equity loan to buy property, but I've always wanted this boat, so let's buy a boat. And I'm like, no.
No.
Let's rent a boat for a
Exactly.
weekend to enjoy the experience of having the boat without having something that you are going to trade. Exactly what you said. You're trading now your time for the dollars to pay off that debt, and all the interest on that debt that you're going to pay over the next couple of years, because you're not going to be able to work a whole year and only pay for the boat. You still got to pay your cost of living plus pay for the boat. And it's not until you really get people to think about, what am I really giving up to get? I'm slaving my way to a job for an additional year in order to pay for that boat that I'm going to use twice in the year, right?
Yeah.
Rather than, how can I have what I really want, which is that idea of enjoying a boat on the water twice a year without having to work a year to pay for it.
Yeah.
So just that concept is so important. But yeah, so back to the kids, I had some basic conversations with a few of them, like, what do you want to do for a living? And why do you want that career? Well, I know if I do this, I can make this much money. And I kind of want to do this, but I'll only make this much money. And so the conversation is, what if you had enough extra money coming in every single month without really having to do much for it? And it allowed you to make as much money a year as you would dissecting people in autopsies, because they make a lot of money, right? Okay. But you really want to be a teacher. And so maybe you make a third of what you would if you're dissecting people, but you're queasy and you love teaching.
Right.
Why not teach and create some extra income that allows you to do what you love, but still make as much money as you would doing something you hate that makes a lot of money? So think about your future in terms of, what are you geared toward? What are you passionate about? What are your skills? What will you love to do?
Yeah.
Then let me show you how you can buy your first rental property to bring in that little extra. And even if you're not thinking, I want to be a landlord, house hack. So I told him about the USDA rural housing program that'll allow you to buy a 1 to 4 unit property with 0 money down, and maybe even cover your closing costs instead of renting an apartment for $1,000 a month. So what if you just live for free and your tenants are paying your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance? You're saving $1,000 a month. You can use that to help pay off your school loans and pay for your car payment. So let's get you thinking about just your very first property. Buy one property, house hack it, think about creating extra income, and then go take a course on basic budgeting and make sure you learn to control every dollar on paper before you spend it. And those were the 2 concepts that I was able to present in the short amount of time I had with them, but it was enough to get them to go, wow, because they've never heard anything like it, right?
Yeah, that is exactly what I feel, right? And frankly, what I experienced as a 17 or 18-year-old, the little I remember of that age is, it was always about, what do you want to do? It was always, the answer was something to do with money, right? I want to do this or do that because it pays the most money. But folks, that is the least important number. Least. And I'll just give you a perfect example, right? I know people I can think of right now. One of them makes almost $1 million a year, and the other is about 75 grand a year, maybe 80. I promise you, the person making $80,000 is a lot closer to financial freedom than the person that makes $1 million, because of the way they've chosen below that line, right? There's obviously taxes, but it's also all those expenses, right? The $1 million individual has 3 houses. I think he has 5, he might have 4 cars. He has a boat, of course. he hasn't used in 3 years, by the way. And then the other individual has a single car for the family and has a free and clear house. I mean, it's not about the top line. And that's why I thought making the course about time would kind of smack you. It's like, because time, like the PS5 or the game, whatever, the Sony PlayStation, if that's still a thing, it's not the sticker. It's how much time do you have to trade? And you don't do that off the gross number. You don't even do that off the net number. You do that off the disposable income, what you have left.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying. That's what I'm trying.
And I love that concept, because that's the truth. You know, we think about how much money do I make an hour, and it's a week, but no, you've already spent that week. Exactly. You've already spent that week of work on your house and your car payment and your utilities and your insurance and everything else that you have to live on, your food. So what's left? Exactly. And then, okay, if I spend everything I have left for a year to own that, you know, for my son, what does he want for his birthday? It's next week, a $300 virtual reality pair of
ocular or whatever,
goggles. Like $300. I still give my kids $100 on their birthday. You get $100, you get a little party, and that's it. And if you want something that costs $300, it's your birthday, it's your Christmas, and it's all the money you get from everybody else. And are you really going to be happy having one thing? Yeah. Right. And outside of birthdays, like it's going to take you a year of your life to have that one thing. Right. Yeah. So leaving it down to disposable income, it's like, is it really worth all your disposable income for a whole year for one thing? Yeah. Rather than what if I rent that thing and then I have disposable income the rest of the year for something else? Yeah. And if I don't have enough, I got to go work extra and overtime. Are you really going to want to work overtime an extra 20 hours a week to pay for one thing? And so that is so important. And if people just got that concept, and that's the other thing I told the kids, is you've got to learn discipline of not buying everything that you think is going to buy you momentary happiness. You've got to be, you know, patient and disciplined with where you spend your money. Yeah. And that is so hard. Those are great words, but as watching the receiver receive that, they don't get it. That's why it has to be time. Right. And it's not, you know, $1,000 or $300 for the 3D glasses or whatever, virtual reality. It's, you know, do the math. Are you willing to work 180 hours for it? Because at least that's something they can articulate, right? Oh, 180 hours and I only work 10 hours a week. That means it's 18 weeks. Suddenly that may not look as good. Or they might say, yeah, I'll work 18 weeks. I'm 17. Then, you know, you know, okay, that's your choice. That's the beauty of being an American. You have freedom of choice. And if you want to do something stupid, you're allowed to do something stupid, right? Right. So, yeah. And I did in the example in that How to Get Your Money Right course, I do an example if somebody makes $100 an hour, top line. I'm going to do this from memory. So I think net, so post taxes and 401k and all of that, I think they make like $77 or $67 or something like that. But basically with life, rent, mortgage, car, insurance, food, entertainment, blah, 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 they're left with $2.17. All right. That's your, you know, when you have $2.17, you are so close to bankruptcy. It's not even funny, right? You are one life event away from true danger. Right. And, you know, when you only have $2 an hour, you're going to be working, you know, 500 hours for a $1,000 item. How does that feel? That's half a year. Right. So important. When I was talking to my son, you know, I think we talked about, I did some little I had 10 minutes of his attention. I'm like, okay, we're going to go through a few things real quick. You know, I want to go work at the ice cream shop and make $11 an hour. I'm like, okay, you can do that. Yeah. Or you can work for me and I'm going to pay you $25 an hour to sit here and learn how to do spreadsheets. Right. Yeah. But I want the experience of working for with my friends, making $11 an hour. I'm like, okay. So let's just talk about money and break it down. Right. Yeah. And I'm like, you come out of school and you want an apartment. And so $900 a month, like in my area, that's pretty cheap, like a decent, safe 1-bedroom apartment. Right. Okay. So $900 a month. And that includes some of your utilities, like your water, sewer, trash. And then you've got a couple $100 a month for your electricity and your gas, for your gasoline, your insurance, your food. What we figured out is for like basic cost of living, to have like $50 a week extra to take someone on a date, because he's like an 18-year-old, you know, almost an 18-year-old. We like kid. That. He's going to want to go on a date, or he's going to want to go out to eat. $50 a week doesn't last long, right?
Mhm.
He would need $2,500 a month just for a basic, no frills. That's no extra clothes. It's no nothing. Just $50 a week to spend on food extras.
Yeah.
He'd have to make $20 an hour because after taxes, it's going to be like, 16, something like that.
Yep.
And 16, 17. And so I'm like, you would have to work at a $20 an hour job, 40 hours a week to be able to go out to eat once a week.
What do you think?
That's no extras.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
So how's that going to work? How's that going to work for you if you're making $11 an hour at an ice cream shop? You're going to be living in mama's basement till you're 40 and you're never going to get married, right? Yeah. So, but even that basics of people don't realize, wow, I'm going to have to make $30,000 a year just to live. And that's with
exactly
nothing
right.
extra. Yeah. And if you have nothing extra, how do you get extra for what you want? You have to trade more time for more dollars, and you have to work 50 hours a week. And then you might have a few extras, but if you go blow it on one thing or two things, you're in that hamster wheel the rest of your life. And this is what it will look like differently, Dane. If I bought you a down payment for your first rental property in lieu of an expensive college, which we've talked about again, right? But I did talk to kids about that a little bit too. So if you have a down payment and now you have a 4-unit building, you don't even have to live in it. And you would make enough passive income coming in from that building to almost cover where you don't have to work but 10 hours a week and covers all the same living expenses. So one property and make all that money, or $11 an hour at an ice cream shop. What sounds better to you, right? But you have to break it down into real life examples of
it has to.
What it's going to cost to live and how are you going to be able to afford extras? And for most people, it's no, not initially, not right out of school.
Yeah, it's time and choices. We gotta move the eye line from income to time and choices. That's what I'm trying to do.
I love that. Love that.
All right. Well, I'm glad to know I'm on the right page. So Anna, how can people follow you? Because I've always failed to ask. We've been doing this so long. How could people follow you, be part of your world?
Well, every week I'm right here with you. So join us on our podcast. My Facebook is Anna REI Mom Kelly. So find me on Facebook. And yeah, we can connect there.
Very cool. Thanks, Anna. Have a wonderful day.
You too.